Hey there, welcome back. There are big improvements on how we handle strings in ES6. So let's now take a look at the major changes that happened in strings. So let's start by creating some data here that we can work with. So let's define a name. And we do so using the let definition, okay? So we're already using the new ES6 version here to declare our variables. Smith, okay? And then this one is going to be a constant. So the year of birth is a constant because, as we saw before, it's something that really cannot change, right? Okay, and we also can create a function here. And we already know this one. It's a calculate age function. So calc age, it gets a year, and it simply returns the current year, let's say 2016, minus the year that it receives as an input. Alright, so the first thing that I want to talk about is template literals. And that's probably the coolest new thing about strings. And I really love this new feature because it really makes our life easier when working with strings. So imagine that in ES5 we wanted to put all of these data together in a big string. So let's say console.log. So this is the first name. Then we have to use all of these plus signs like this. And for me personally, I find this really annoying. So first name and then the last name. So John Smith. And it goes on and on. So he was born in, now this plus sign again, year of birth. So today he is, and now we can also calculate the age here. So of course we use calc age and then his year of birth. Years old. So this was quite some work, right? So let's check it out in the console. So yeah, this is John Smith. He was born in 1990. Today he's 26 years old. Let's just clear this here. This part was from before. So again, this is our string now. So again, this is a bit hard to write, right? With all of these plus signs, and it gets really confusing. So in ES6, we have a very cool new thing, which is called template literals. And it works like this. In order to use them, we now use backticks instead of the quotation marks that we used before. So backticks are these symbols here, all right? So we use these ones instead of the quotes that we used before or the single quotes, right? So we now use backticks. And this tells JavaScript that we want to use a template literal. And now we can write all of our text and put the variables right inside of the text. And this is how it works. So let's write the same sentence again. So this is, and now we simply can do it like this. So this, let's say $sign here, and then the curly brackets. And now we just have to say first name. And that's it. Now last name. Okay. So let's check this before we continue. And alright, this is John Smith. So now we don't have to use all of these annoying plus signs and starting and stopping the strings like we did here. So all we have to do now is one big string which starts and begins here with a backtick, okay? So let's continue our sentence here. So he was born in, and once again, we do it like this. In year of birth. And today he is And we can actually not just put variable names here, but entire expressions. So we can calculate this age right here inside of this template string. So once again, we can use the calc age function here, and it's gonna work just fine. Years old. So now we have the same sentence as before, hopefully. And yeah, it's exactly the same. So this was much quicker, right? And much easier to write. So this is probably one of the easiest and most straightforward things to implement right away when you start using ES6. And it's a huge advantage, in fact, over ES5. So this is template literals, but there's more. So in strings, we also have now a couple of new methods. So we talked about some string methods back in our budget project, but now we have some more new string methods. So let's take a look at them. Let's first start by creating a new string, and I'm just going to call it name, or N actually, which is just going to be John Smith. And now we already know how we do that, right? So we just say first name space last name. All right, so let's now use some of the new methods on this string. So the first one that I want to show you is called starts with. So we can just say n dot starts with, and then, for example, we can say j, and this is then going to return if the string starts with j or not. And actually, to see this, we have to console.log this, right? So let's see, true. Of course, because remember, this one here is John Smith, and of course it starts with a J. If we would put an N in here, it would actually be false. And also a small j is also false, because it's not the same letter. I mean, it's also a J, but it's not a capital J. So JavaScript identifies this as something else. Okay, and such as we have start with, we also have ends with. So let's just duplicate this line with Command D, and then ends with. So let's test if our string ends with TH. And remember, it's called John Smith, so we should get true, right? So it makes sense. If we once again say something else, let's say something like this, then of course we have false. So we can test if a string starts with something or if it ends with something. So what about the middle of the string? For that we have includes. So we can ask if the string includes something. So let's, for example, ask if the string includes a space. And what do you think? Of course it's true, because remember, and we can check it out here by writing N, it's John Smith. So of course there's an S in here. Or if we test O, let's say if there's an O in the string, and yeah, we also get true here, right? So these are three very useful methods that are now included in ES6. Okay, and just one more, which is the repeat method. So let me also console.log something here. And what I'm going to do is simply say first name dot repeats. And then we can say how many times we want it to repeat. So let's see. Okay, it's not a function, and actually it's repeat and not repeats. Okay, so my mistake. But now here it is. So John, 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 John. 5 times in a row. Now imagine we want a space in there. Then we would have to write a template literal. Just like this. Okay, so John, 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 and John, John. So it doesn't look much useful in this case, but there are some cases that we need it, and that's why it was also added to the new version of JavaScript. Alright, and that's it with strings in ES6. For me personally, the best thing here is the template literals. So I really like them. Alright, so let's now move on to another very important feature that's also very useful, and that's arrow functions. So come with me right to the next lecture.